get ready for the new moon in the sign of Gemini, the twins. I'm Pastor Rosemary, the Astrology Angel. Thank you for joining us. This new moon bestows upon you a prolific opportunity to plant the seeds of intelligent discourse. Finally, some intelligence will be brought into the mix with past associates that are always interesting, if not always amiable. The relationships grant you sort of a choice that you can make, where you feel you're being your best, and especially meaningful during Luna's transit through the sign ruled by the planet Mercury, who is the planet of logic and also known as the morning and the evening star. So Mercury is known as the morning star, but also the evening star. So is Venus. But these planets are in very close proximity to the Earth, yes, and to the Sun. Now, the Rosicrucian Kabbalah message from this is that the spirit of Hod is indeed logic, and is found on the feminine side of the tree. Now, this Sephirah of Hod is assigned to the god name, which is Elohim Zabaoth. That's Elohim Zabaoth. Now, the bright seeds of intellect prone to overthinking, however, are something that you need to watch out for in any given situation that are concurrently sown with new intentions for abundance as well as high adventure in the realms of love and career and health, becoming available to the well-informed for the purpose of increasing the light of knowledge. That's very important. Intelligence, wisdom, and knowledge through the lamp of honest, competitive instincts. So competition is going to be high, but it's more of an intellectual competition. Now make sure to continue to use all situations to your advantage rather than reacting sloppily. That's very important. Now, rather, one who wishes to sort of attain kingship needs to register any and all provocations from competitors as useful, which may be stored and then earmarked for allocation down the line with proper use of its function. Keep in mind that everything and everyone has a purpose for which God has fashioned them. So everything can be used to your good purpose if you're following in the will of God. Because if you feel that someone's coming against you, remember that a king or kingship, the crown of Christ the King, always finds a way to use everything to his advantage. That's very important. Now, the angel of the Lord can be used for blocking or protective or projective energies, as well as the archangel of Mercury, who is Raphael, which fills the air with kind of aromas and scents of sandalwood. You can also use ginger grass, lemongrass, dill, fennel, lavender, and caraway as correspondences for the quickening. And sometimes, be very careful, there are trickster frequencies found on the feminine or restrictive side of the tree. See, Hod is on the restrictive, feminine side of the tree where Mercury resides. All right, and again, that's Elohim Zabaoth. Now, this can block or project energy by creating a great abundance of knowledge, evoking a higher mind, and expanding the mind, and refreshing types of aromas are used that provide odors of sort of zingy essences over which self-pitying emotions cannot prevail. So understand that. It's a way to refresh one's spirit and refresh one's emotions so that there's not, again, any pity or self-pity. Now, the choir of angels, known as the Beni Elohim, are also worked with to overcome those attempting to influence the Magus using gotcha tactics or vain attempts to get away with behavior they know to be immature and or mean-spirited, in the hopes that they will be seen by all as clever or more witty, even tricky, as the flavor of this sort of mercurial energy, these mercurial odors of all the desires existing in the Sephirah of Hod, where the hermaphrodite is found representing one who uses both sides of their brain, being the lord of logic. Because if you don't use both sides of the brain, your logic will be wanting. It will not be the best it can be if you're not using both the right and left hemispheres of your brain. People think that the creative side, the right side of the brain, is only for creativity and there's no logic. That's not true. There is a form of logic in the right side of the brain, and there is a form of creativity in the left, and there's an intelligence in the heart, intellectus sinus. Now, the Archangel Gabriel can be used for receptive invocations into one's self, or invocations, which is also called evocations, into one's sphere of sensation during the moon phase of the new moon in Gemini, if the Magus wishes to test his or her own ability to overcome and or conquer the forces of manipulation or suggestion magic, and possibly even cruel innuendo or inappropriate gifts meant to catch the Magus off guard with tricky tactics of social gaming for the purpose of appearing vicious, dangerous, and more desirable than others, thus attempting to prove intellectual, financial, or sexual superiority, because danger is associated with sexuality, because indeed the part of the nervous system that is evoked when one is arousing sexually is the same part of the nervous system that is being evoked when one is actually being violent or trying to kill someone. In the animal kingdom and in the human nervous system, this is the truth, because that is the sympathetic nervous system, which is what? Fight or flight. It is not the parasympathetic nervous system, which is what you experience after a good meal and is equivalent with peaceful feeling in the nervous system. These are all evoked in the nervous system. So one has to understand that. Understand that's what you're dealing with. Now, the zodiac angel is Umbriel. That's the archangel expressly used for the astrological sign of Gemini the twins. Now, Gemini the twins is a mentally and emotionally stirring sign resulting from water of air frequencies, or described as the water angel of the air realm. Now, for the new moon ingress Gemini the twins, the correspondence is for you. A new moon ingresses the sign of Gemini. This plants seeds of trickery. Fun though. Mischief is going to be, mischief is afoot. Intelligence and social gaming, which may be used for either the invocation or evocation of quick, witty, sometimes vicious, but always interesting energies or magical currents that, when applied with poise, patience, and understanding, result in fun. Also ingenious, innovative, as well as prolific outcomes. Now, inner stillness of the Magus and his or her own mental brightness and clarity is of higher significance than anything else at this time. So at this moment, at this juncture, that's the most important thing. Now, the new moon, the angel of the Lord, if you want to utilize that, brings light into the darkness, illuminating the seeds of intellect and intelligent manipulation granted to the inhabitants of the realm of the natural third house of communication and transportation in the sign of Gemini, associated again with the astrology archangel, who is Umbriel. Now, the astrology angel magic evocations. Evocation for new moon in Gemini. What we have for you is the planetary archangel correspondences. For you, the projective, blocking, planetary angel, new moon angel of the Lord, the scent to use would be lotus. The Hebrew letter Shin, the psalm is 119. That's the biblical correspondence, 119 verses 161 to 168. Now you may add Psalm chapter 34 verse 8, for cunning of the wise angelic emanation of the Hebrew letter Teth, meaning snake, that appears above this verse, whose zodiac angel is Virchiel, to strike at the heart of the enemy of God, who is Hasatan. Now, receptive planetary angel, the new moon Gabriel, that is, again, when it's a new moon, is a more receptive energy, and the scent would be amber. You can use an amber resin incense. You can use the Hebrew letter Gimel, and the biblical correspondence is Psalm 119 verses 17 to 24, and you may add Psalm 34, chapter 34 verse 3, for salvation from the Akkadian god Sin, using the receptive angelic emanation of the Hebrew letter Gimel, meaning camel, that appears above the verse, whose planetary angel is Gabriel, who rules over the changeable moon. Now, the zodiac angel correspondence for Gemini, again, the astrology archangel or zodiac angel is Umbriel. The tribe is of Manasseh or Manasseh. The popular association is Manasseh, and the incense is lemongrass or peppermint. The gemstone is pearl, and the Hebrew letter is Zion. The psalm that you can utilize for the biblical correspondence is 119, chapter 119, and that's verse 49 to 56. Now, you can also use Genesis chapter 48, verse 17, and Genesis chapter 38, verse 27. Now, a note here is that you need to look at Genesis chapter 49 for the tribes of Israel correspondences. Now, also, another note is that the tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Manasseh, or Manasseh, makes up the house of Joseph. Also note that some associate the tribe of Levi with the sign of Gemini, as well as others attributing Gemini to the brothers who are Cain and Abel. Now, obviously, the sign of Gemini is obviously a correspondence with the tribe of Israel that it's a very contested sort of sign. Nobody really is sure which one it's associated with, but people should use what they feel most comfortable with while people argue, because it really matters what emotions and parts of the nervous system it unleashes in you. Okay, so the adept, again, should use the tribe of Israel correspondence that best represents her or his own expression of mutable air for the invocation or evocation of the zodiac angel of Gemini, who is Umbriel. Now, calls to the angelic realm should fill the adept's sphere of sensation with the desired goal. This attribute is more important than following any prescribed instruction, though tradition provides necessary as well as welcomed structure to any system of Rosicrucian high magic performed. For the tribe of Manasseh, or Manasseh, use the book of Genesis chapter 48 verse 17. The Douay-Rheims translation states that, and Joseph, seeing that his father had put his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, was much displeased. And taking his father's hand, he tried to lift it from Ephraim's head and to remove it to the head of Manasseh. Now, for the sign of Gemini, use the book of Genesis, chapter 38, verse 27, the Douay-Rheims Bible translation. And when he was ready to be brought to bed, there appeared twins in her womb. And in the very delivery of the infants, one put forth a hand, whereon the midwife tied a scarlet thread, saying, and then it continues with the next verse. Now, the general biblical protection rite, which may be used at any time, is Romans chapter 6, verse 22 to 23. But now, being made free from sin and become servants to God, you have your fruit unto sanctification and the end life everlasting. For the wages of sin is death, but the grace of God, life everlasting in Christ Jesus our Lord. Again, this is the Dewey Rames Bible translations we're using. Remember that words have the power to devastate as sure as any other form of weapon. Allow the ego, which is Hasatan, to be destroyed at every moment of choice, and watch all other facets of your life bear fruit, such as the tree of life, most often associated with an olive tree, which is an actual constellation found in the heavens, which you can read in Revelation chapter 22, verse 2, in the midst of the street thereof. And on both sides of the river was the tree of life, bearing 12 fruits, yielding its fruits every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of nations. A disclaimer is in order here. Remember, high magic can be dangerous. This is exclusively for entertainment purposes. If you're going to do any form of astrology angel magic or Ansara angel magic that we teach, you need to have proper classes and have a proper adeptitude when you first attempt these types of rituals, because it's high magic, and again, these are powerful forces. You don't want to try this if you're not, quite frankly, adept. All right. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Pastor Rosemary, the Astrology Angel, and join us again next time.